So welcome to Stepping into Shakespeare. We're here today with George Keeler, and we're going to be talking about our experience with our Live in London podcast.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, hi. You're welcome.
It was a really pleasure to work with you. It was great.
Likewise.
Yeah.
It was really great.
No, you two are really red hot on producing, so I'm expecting big things.
Thank you.
We try our best.
And so, let me ask you a bit about your background. How did you start as an actor?
I'm a late bloomer, so it was, I had another career before or two. And so I finished drama school, my first drama school, when I was 30, in my mid-30s.
Wow.
So that's a late,
That's
a late start in the business. And, with some of the guys who I trained with and everything, that's where we started putting on Shakespeare as the first kind of thing to go for.
And what plays did you start with?
King Lear.
Amazing. Okay. We read that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Twelfth Night.
Oh, wow.
So you're an expert.
No. This is over 20 years ago. So I've been an actor, professional actor for 28 years.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you guys had a theatre that you were working in?
We were in South London, one venue, because we basically come out with that enthusiasm from drama school. Yeah. So we had one place which had a bit, I think some of it was concrete underneath a flyover, and all these strange dark spaces which are perfect for Shakespeare. And
amazing.
We just get some lighting, and make these really nice urban landscapes or sets to.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
And how do you feel to get back to Shakespeare after, let's say, this time to Twelfth Night? It's still...
It's wonderful. It's wonderful because, I do whatever acting comes my way. So it's, Shakespeare stage, that's really the love. That's what we learned at drama school, and film, TV, cabaret, comedy, any excuse to get on stage and show off, really.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you had such a funny role. How did you feel playing it?
I've played him before.
Okay.
So you played it in your original production?
In the original production. So
that's so cool.
I did want to be the clown because comedy is my thing. But I got sacked by Matthew as the clown because he's such a wise character, and I thought after 28 years I had some wisdom.
Yes.
But Matthew's, I couldn't do the singing. So I had to go back to Toby.
Toby Belch.
Oh, gosh. But Toby has a little bit of singing, does he, or not really?
He does.
A bit of drunken
singing.
Yes, I have to accept my limitations, I think.
Oh, yeah.
That's so funny.
And we had this really great rehearsal where Matthew did almost like an interview with your character as Toby Belch.
Hot seating.
Hot seating.
Yes.
That was, and then we came up with belching. that was really fun.
Yes, to be able to keep that going, especially in a live performance, would be fun. To be able to belch and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And of course, it's his name,
Exactly. Which, it must have come from somewhere. So
absolutely. Yeah. I wonder if he inspired Celeste Patterson, Barry Humphries, that one who was always barely in control of his bodily functions, but maybe that was too far.
Maybe a little. If you're in a small theatre as well, you get a little bit. But this is actually your first podcast experience.
Yes.
So how was that for you to work on the podcast?
Well, I'm a very physical actor. I my energy levels and everything go down. If I sit down for too long, I have to be moving to get my energy going. And I've learned that over the years. And you work with that. And, I realised with Shakespeare that, you think of the Globe Theatre, which is, for Shakespeare and how they play the stage and the way it's set out. It's very physical, and that's, if you imagine that maybe that's how Shakespeare, it was performed in those days. You can imagine the energy and the movement that's in it. So it's a completely different kind of challenge to do it in a podcast. And, and it's really interesting to realize how much energy you really need to get into the microphone to compensate for not actually physically moving. So,
and everything lays in the text and the words.
Yes. And the challenge is, and really, you want to be challenged all the time. So it's different. Maybe this is more of the way things will be in the future. It was certainly good to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it is, like you said, it is a challenge because, so much is physical, and even in the fight scene and stuff, you have to just kind of like get it in your head a little bit. And it's definitely different.
You do. You have to get that attitude that you would imagine on stage into your thinking and into your delivery of the lines. So.
Exactly. And you just have the voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To show the personality.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we did a bit of a hybrid because we had the show and then we had the podcast. So that was a bit different.
For me, the show helped a lot to get into the character and these exercises we did.
Yes.
To warm up, and then the physicality actually then helped us for the reading yesterday.
Yes, absolutely. And I would really have missed not having done that,
Yes.
I think it really helped.
And especially for you, because your journey was you were on stage doing the role, and then now you're doing it again. So it's good that you kind of did it on stage again.
I'm glad I got to caper.
I think I missed that part. I was backstage changing. I missed you guys.
I'm not doing it again because I think I pulled a muscle.
Yeah. No.
But you looked great.
Thank you.
And I think you had a brilliant stage chemistry with Tim.
Oh, Tim was fantastic.
Yeah. Did you enjoy the rehearsal with him?
Yes, absolutely. It was really lovely. I worked with I've not worked with Matthew directing before, but I've seen him for coffee with some of his actor friends and met them, and I trusted that I was working with good people when he invited me to join, and I think I appreciate as I go on, because it's kind of, being an actor is a solitary business. And you have to keep yourself motivated and everything. And you realise, I've realised as I've gone on, how much I need other people and how you have to make that happen, and the support you get from, sharing your struggles and good times and bad times.
I was just talking to Sarah before that how much I gained confidence in my acting actually through you guys and to the other people supporting me.
Yeah, it's great. And when you see like you guys doing your scene and everything, and you go full on and you go full out, you're like, okay, I've got to match that energy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You think, I won't say the word beep. I better do something.
Exactly. I can't just come in and be like, oh, I've got to come in. Yeah, which is great. It's really... And can you talk a little bit more about how it was to work with Matthew?
Yes, I would say that because I did clown and physical theatre and an international course as well
amazing.
As the English text-based studies, because I just had this need to jump around on stage and be stupid. And, the Royal Shakespeare Company, I found that was more of a cerebral...
Interesting.
It seemed more of a cerebral approach to the text of Shakespeare. And like I say, when I mentioned the Globe, you go down there, Mark Rylance and all the great Shakespeare stuff they've done now. It's been really physical.
Yeah.
And there's been clowning, there's been all of these things. And for me to do European theatre and commedia dell'arte and street theatre and all of those things which actually feed into what would have been in Shakespeare at that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is just something that I've had to pick up here and there, rather than, that's just been my journey, because the Royal Shakespeare Company it seemed more like an institution or something that, I might or might not be invited to partake in.
I see exactly what you mean. And I think it's great that you can bring what you like into your work, and you enjoy jumping around, and then you can do that. And
absolutely. And they're the roles you get because people can see that that's where your pleasure is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where your fun is.
Yes.
And that's what the audience want to see, is an actor having fun on the stage.
Exactly. And it transmutes if people are laughing. And that's why I kind of I love Twelfth Night, because Lear is a brilliant play, but it's heavy. But Twelfth Night is lighter and it has more fun moments. And the scene with you guys and Mariah, it's just funny, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's great.
Well, and Malvolio.
Yes.
It's kind of nasty, but sometimes you find yourself laughing and just saying, I recognize that character in me, and that pomposity and everything is brilliant.
Yeah, I think I recognize a bit of all the characters, you're just like, oh yeah, I sometimes do that and I sometimes do that.
And was there anything particular you did to get into your character?
Oh. Yes, I used to, like I said, I was late to acting, and I used to work in the city. Mm-hmm. We used to go out on business lunches, and one of my director bosses was my initial inspiration for Toby Belch.
Wow.
So you had him in mind.
Anytime I got lost and where am I would just go back to that memory of my days out getting pissed with my boss. And,
oh my gosh. And he probably doesn't know.
And going on revels.
Oh, nice. I'm sure he doesn't know that he's the inspiration.
No, I'm sure he doesn't.
Should invite him to the show. Might recognize
Well, that's
himself.
A great way to have really imagine you're a real life person.
But it's only one little thing. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult to say it's one thing or another. It all goes into the mix. Mm-hmm. And because it's a specific person that I worked with for a few years and fondly remember.
That's great.
I can mention, but it's also physical. What animal might it be? What kind of, character would Toby, how, he's up having revels. What's he like in a quiet moment when he's out of money? All those sort of things. So it's to try and get a rounded idea of his things. And the hot seating that you mentioned, it can be very good for that, depending on how far you want to push it.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned you came to acting later in life. Was there a catalyst or something that had you wanted to do it, and then was it just...
I think I just got my midlife crisis at 30.
Like a lot of people.
Just gets earlier now.
Yeah. And you were just like, right, that's it. I'm going to be an actor.
No, somebody told me, I think at a party, that I had I had the face for, I think I had a skinhead at the time and all of that. And they said something about my face and all that. And then I started with an introduction to acting, and I'd never done any acting.
Wow.
And then they said to me, in the first class, we had to jump around in different, or express different emotions. And the one I struggled with was joy.
Wow. Interesting.
And I just thought, how on earth do you express joy? And I just watched some of the others, and I think some of them were leaping. And I started leaping and carry on to this day.
That's amazing. Nice. That's amazing. Yeah, because it's interesting to see where you emotionally lie when you start acting, because you need to have all the different emotions. And interestingly, that's fascinating that you pick that. That's so cool. And you said you did classes. Where was it in London?
Yes, I was in London. So we had places like the City Lit. I started at night school, which is when we used to have night classes, So it's terrible that we don't have night classes.
Ever since?
No, I was born in Luton, and then I stalked my girlfriend when she came to London and moved in a few streets away.
Oh, well.
Very good. It worked.
It works.
It's a great place to come to.
Exactly. And coming back to the text of Shakespeare, was there anything you struggled with? Or how is that language coming easily?
It was very interesting, Matthew, going over the basics. I really appreciated that with the iambic pentameter and how some are prose, some are verse, and just to go over those basics again.
Yeah.
And not to use it as a straitjacket, like I have to, because I tried a little bit of that and it sounds completely unnatural and terrible. I was happy mine was prose, so I could just be drunk and not worry about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really, it's so rich that, it's just like, it gives you so much, but not to use it as a, the main thing is having fun. I'm an actor and Shakespeare's dead and he's forgiven me to go and have fun with his play. And we have to make it now. It's live,
Yes.
Exactly. And I was saying to Therese just earlier, it's so interesting that he would have been doing what we're doing plays in London and just having fun with it.
Yeah, and he gave us this rich work, which we can continue creating it, and all the thoughts we put into it, how this character would be, how he would feel. I mean, for us, it is a really nice world to dive in.
Absolutely. And in a group, you've got some who are more experienced with the text and on the dynamics of the text, like Matthew knowing the actual about the verse and the rhythms and keeping on at you for that. And he never mentioned anything to me about that. So if somebody doesn't say anything, I'll take it as a thumbs up and just carry on. And but you need all these different things that people bring to the table. Yeah. And Tim was fantastic, with the music.
Oh, yeah, we were so lucky.
And Kate, I ended up preparing some songs with Kate and actually in the church, it didn't sound too bad at some point, when we were doing the rehearsals and everything. It was like, even with the echo and everything.
Yeah. And was there like a line which sticks in your head? Was there like a line of your character which is...
Oh, lots of them. But it was things like, when he would show this side of like when Andrew had left and he said to Fabian, like, this boy's been a dear mannequin to you. Fabian says to Toby and Toby says, yes, and I've been dear to him some 2,000 or so, meaning he's in debt to him for 2,000. Wow. And, you just see these little things.
And for me, it was like the more we read it, the more I got these little things.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. I have to read the text a lot. So I have to read it maybe 10 or 20 times at least. Yeah. Sometimes I write it out.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because there's just something happens between me writing and slowing things really down over every word. So I might write it. More and more I do that, and to get all these rich details out.
Yeah, that's fascinating because everybody has their process, and I think it's like, it's interesting to learn what other actors do because you're like, I'm thinking I might try that, see how it goes.
For me, learning the lines, it was like walking around in the park.
Oh,
because probably my nerves were so high, just sitting there with the.
It's great because we're being physical, and that's one of the things with writing, and I don't want to get too fixed because even that is a rhythm. Writing and everything, so to keep everything loose, but not too loose, I think I have to, and to keep the impulses, give them room to come in because changes of rhythm, all of those things. If you're fixed on something, it's much harder to change it.
Yeah.
If you've made a concrete, and I've learned this through bitter experience.
Oh gosh. You have to be flexible, but I suppose that goes back a little bit to like the clowning and everything, because you're such in the moment and you have to be able to
The theory of clowning, it's so easy to talk about it. I could talk to you about it for hours, but actually getting on stage and being in the moment is so scary, until you can do it. And I don't know how close I get to do it, to actually being in that moment, but it's just an ideal to aim towards every time you go on stage.
Definitely. Yeah. And yeah, exactly. Sometimes, we're actors, so sometimes you think somebody in the audience catches your eye and you're like, but staying present is a challenge. It can be.
Yeah.
I try to not to look into the audience. I kind of looked up over their heads.
Well, it worked because when you walked towards me, you looked absolutely fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So carry on doing what you're doing.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's cool. It's definitely, and I think also comedy is very present, and you've got to be in the moment and catch all the nuances and be able to get that. I think comedy's harder, to be honest.
It's not easy, that's for sure.
I think comedy is very hard.
Yeah. And I really admire people who do the stand-up as well. That's definitely. Have you done any stand-up?
Yes, I tried. I tried to write and deliver my musings, and it was okay. But I discovered the pleasure in my stupidity more by looks, and I have a very, and with this European style. You can suggest so much without words, and so I really went into a wordless kind of universe for a while, for a few years.
That's interesting.
And this is, it's great to be back and I guess what I want to do now in my career is to combine all of these things into all of my work. That's the challenge for me.
That's amazing. And what advice would you have for like a beginner actor who's nervous about getting into Shakespeare? What would you tell them?
I think it's normal to be nervous and, overwhelmed, and have him on a pedestal up there. I mean, he's great, but just one of many great writers at that time. And just like there are, other writers around now and the same sort of thing. I wouldn't be too reverential about it. He would have wanted his actors to really find their pleasure and express themselves and have fun. And the more you're able to do that, I think the more you serve him. And the more the audience will love you, and the more you'll just have fun.
And the fascination about Shakespeare is this richness of all these characters and the story. It's not only the language itself, it's also the stories and the character he created.
Well, absolutely. And even in my 30s, when I King Lear, I mean, it's beyond my understanding, because I played one of the weak husbands of the daughters. And, I was kind of typecast already at that point.
No.
You can't hide on stage. You walk on the stage and people kind of make their mind up about you in about 15 seconds. So if you don't look like a henpecked husband, they're not going to buy it.
That's actually interesting that you say that. Yeah.
But so it's funny, but the actual, there's a whole philosophy of life in the play and in the plays. And,
What do you mean by this?
Just they're so rich. Everything's in there, and you can't really understand that. Maybe you appreciate it more as you get older, and you just think, wow, So
also the relationship between the characters.
Absolutely,
yeah,
and how the journeys of the characters, like you say.
What they evolve.
Yeah.
And what would be your takeaway from 12th Night? Like, what was the theme for you in the play?
The theme for me, apart from cross-dressing,
yeah, that's true.
Which was, I mean, I think I'm quite an ambivalent person. Struggle with committing to one defined, it's got to be this way. And, I enjoyed all of that, the way things unfolded, by accident, a lot of ways, or that the characters had to trust and disguise themselves and see what happens to time. I'm just going to have to go with this.
Yeah.
And, the Toby and Mariah were kind of she's kind of a classic commedia character, which is Columbina. She knows what's going on. She's driving the jokes, and she gets her man for whatever reason. She chooses Toby. But she's a very clever woman,
Definitely.
And she's the head servant in a way, even though Malvolio thinks he is.
Yes, she's definitely in charge.
Exactly. So, and Olivia depends on her, and Toby depends on her as well. And so, that's kind of thing. But I think in Twelfth Night, because they say, Shakespeare loves all of these characters being disguised and then revealing themselves, and but so I get a deeper understanding of that, and just and the wisdom of the clown, an allowed fool.
Oh wow, yeah.
And how important humor is. To all these rich people, the lords and the ladies.
Yeah, wow.
Which the fool, the clown, which is one of my areas that I'm really interested in. I think that's probably the biggest thing, how important that is amongst all the other things.
And so important that they pay for it, it's like a necessity.
Well, exactly. So, a lot of my fooling was done for free. So after 12th Night, no more.
No more free fooling. I think we're all with you on that one, aren't we?
I knew it.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
For your talent and your time and your energy. We loved working with you.
Oh, likewise. And it's great. I wish you all the best with it and with other projects.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.